The chapel doors sealed shut behind her with a gentle click. But to Sophie Bennett, it sounded like a prison cell locking into place. The organ music swelled, soft, romantic, completely at odds with the anxiety clawing at her chest. Her white veil drifted as she took one shaky step forward down the aisle, her father's arm the only thing keeping her upright. Except it wasn't her father's arm. It was a stranger's. A man in a worn leather vest covered in patches, his gray beard neatly trimmed, his hand firm but oddly gentle on her elbow. "Keep walking," he whispered, his voice low and steady. "Act like I'm supposed to be here." Sophie's breath caught. She should scream. She should run. Every instinct told her this was wrong. A biker had just taken her father's place at her own wedding. But his eyes, weathered yet strangely protective, told her he wasn't there to hurt her. "Who are you?" she breathed, her smile frozen in place as guests beamed at her from the pews. "Someone who overheard your fiancé last night," he murmured. "And you need to trust me right now, or you won't walk out of here alive. If you believe in second chances, guardian angels, and the courage to walk away, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more powerful true stories." Sophie's mind raced back to the past 6 months. The warning signs had been there. Ethan's jealousy wrapped up as devotion. The way he'd isolated her from her closest friends, insisting they didn't understand their connection. How he'd convinced her to add his name to her father's life insurance policy, just in case something happens. Her father had passed away 4 months ago. Heart attack. Sudden. Devastating. And Ethan had been there through it all, supportive and loving. The perfect partner during her darkest time. She'd told herself she was lucky. But standing at this altar with a stranger's hand on her arm, she realized she'd been lying to herself for months. The biker, she caught a glimpse of his vest patch, Iron Wolves MC, Texas chapter, walked her slowly down the aisle. Behind them, she heard the chapel doors open again. Heavy boots on hardwood. The congregation stirred, confused murmurs rising. 14 more bikers filed in silently, lining the back wall like sentries. Ethan stood at the altar, his smile faltering as he took in the scene. "What the hell is this?" he hissed under his breath, trying to maintain his composure. The biker released Sophie's arm and stepped between them. "You might want to rethink this ceremony, son." "Get out of my wedding," Ethan snarled, his mask slipping. "Sophie, tell them to leave. Now." But Sophie couldn't speak. She was frozen, watching the man she'd planned to marry transform before her eyes, his charm evaporating, replaced by something cold and dangerous. "Sophie's not marrying you today," the biker said calmly. "See, I was at Murphy's bar last night. You were there too, real drunk, bragging to your buddy." Ethan's face went white. "You said marriage was just paperwork. That once she signed, the insurance money would transfer, $2 million from her daddy's policy. And if she ever tried to leave." The biker's jaw tightened. "You made a gesture. Said accidents happen all the time." The chapel erupted. Gasps. Shouts. Sophie's mother stood up, hand over her mouth. "That's a lie." Ethan lunged forward, but the biker didn't move. He was a wall of leather and conviction. The other bikers surged forward, not threatening, but present. A human barrier. "I called the cops last night," the biker continued. "They're waiting outside. Got my statement recorded. But I wanted to give Sophie a choice first, walk out of here on her own terms, or marry a man planning her funeral." Sophie's legs buckled. The biker caught her, steady and sure. "Breathe," he said quietly. "You're safe now. You crazy old bastard." Ethan shouted. "She's mine. We're getting married." For the first time in months, Sophie didn't shrink. She didn't apologize. She didn't try to smooth things over. She pulled free from the biker's support, standing on her own. "No," she said, her voice shaking but clear. "We're not." She ripped off her veil and threw it at Ethan's feet. "Get out." Ethan's face twisted with rage. "You're nothing without me. You think anyone else will want you? You're pathetic. That's enough." The biker's voice cut through the chapel like a blade. "Leave. Now. Before I let my brothers here forget they're on parole." The other bikers didn't move. Didn't speak. But their presence said everything. Ethan backed toward the side exit, pointing at Sophie. "You're gonna regret this. You have no idea what you just did." Two police officers appeared in the doorway. "Ethan Crawford. We need you to come with us. We have some questions about fraud and conspiracy." Ethan ran. He didn't make it far. The weeks that followed blurred together, police interviews, lawyers, the discovery that Ethan had forged documents, that he'd been planning this for over a year, that Sophie wasn't his first target. Through it all, the biker came to check on her. His name was Vincent Hayes, VP of the Iron Wolves. He brought coffee. He never stayed long. Just made sure she was okay. "Why did you do this?" Sophie asked him one afternoon, sitting in her mother's kitchen. "You don't even know me." Vincent was quiet for a long moment. His weathered hands wrapped around his coffee mug, and Sophie noticed the way they trembled slightly. "I had a daughter once," he finally said. "Kelly. She was 18 when she met a guy like Ethan. Controlling. Charming. Dangerous." His voice cracked. "She ran from me at 18 because I was a bad father. Angry. Violent. Made a lot of mistakes. She said she'd never forgive me." Sophie's heart ached. 3 years later, I got a call. She'd been in a car accident. Her boyfriend had been drinking, got mad about something, crashed the car on purpose. Vincent's jaw clenched. "She didn't survive." "Vincent, I'm so sorry. I swore that day I'd spend the rest of my life protecting daughters who weren't mine, even if I couldn't save my own." He looked up, eyes glistening. "You reminded me of her. That scared look. Like you knew something was wrong but couldn't name it." Sophie reached across the table and took his hand. "You saved my life." "You saved your own life," Vincent said. "You said no. You walked away. That took more courage than anything I did." Months passed. Sophie rebuilt her life slowly, therapy, reconnecting with old friends, rediscovering who she was without Ethan's voice in her head. She visited Vincent and the Iron Wolves often. They'd adopted her, in their own way. Brothers she never asked for but desperately needed. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Sophie showed up at the motorcycle club's garage with a small wrapped box. Vincent was working on a bike, grease on his hands. "Hey, kid. What brings you by?" Sophie handed him the box, nervous. "I wanted to give you something." He wiped his hands on a rag and opened it carefully. Inside was a simple silver pendant on a leather cord. Engraved on it were 2 words, "Chosen Family." Vincent's tough exterior crumbled. His hands shook as he held the pendant. "Kelly would have liked you," he whispered. "She would have been glad I did this." Sophie hugged him tight. "Thank you for seeing me when no one else did." For the first time in 20 years, Vincent Hayes felt like maybe, just maybe, he'd done something right. 14 years later. Special Agent Sophie Bennett walked into the FBI field office in Houston, her badge clipped to her belt, her case files tucked under her arm. Domestic Violence Division. Fraud and conspiracy cases. She'd made it her life's work to protect people like her younger self. And at her graduation from Quantico 3 months earlier, sitting in the back row, had been Vincent and every single one of those Iron Wolves bikers who'd stood guard at her almost wedding. Her chosen family. The men who taught her that strength isn't about being unafraid, it's about doing the right thing even when you're terrified. As she sat down at her desk that morning, Sophie touched the silver pendant around her neck. She smiled. Sometimes the most dangerous-looking people become your greatest protectors, because they understand darkness well enough to recognize when someone needs light. Would you trust a stranger to save you from the person you love? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.